I love reading about witches, and I feel like you can find them in all different forms of books, whether it's cozy or romantic or dark and brooding. And today I have a list for you that has all different kinds of witchy books. Hi guys, it's Amy and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. I hope that you're doing well and let me know how you're doing in the comments below. As I've said, we are talking about witchy books today, and I tried to have like a witchy look today. I'll show like a full body shot of my outfit, but I just kind of wanted to get into the vibes today because it's fall right now and September, October is totally the time to read some witchy books, and I have been reading them recently. I actually have added some of that to my list today, but I've accumulated some witchy books that I feel like you are going to enjoy as well. So let's get into this list, and as we do, let me know in the comments what your favorite witchy book is. First up are witchy books with spooky vibes. These are definitely going to be a bit darker in tone, like sort of horror leaning, so just be aware of that, but I figured we would get this out of the way, like the more darker books. I have a lot more like cozy books to come. But first up is The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a dark and gothic feeling book with witchcraft and curses, and it's all centered around Mexican folklore, which I love about Sylvia Moreno Garcia's books. And this is a story with 3 different women's POVs and how they kind of intertwine in this story of witchcraft. This story definitely has like the atmosphere of just a classic evil witch story, but this definitely has a different kind of take on the evil witch story, and we definitely have like elements of horror, like body horror. It's very suspenseful, so if you want just like a spooky, scary time, I definitely would recommend. My other spooky recommendation is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I really enjoy this author's work as well, and this is a haunting and very atmospheric sort of story that takes place on this island in the Pacific Northwest, and it's very much steeped in folklore and old magic. The story centers around a man who returns to his hometown years after being accused of murder. And this story has a lot of like long buried secrets and curses that are tied to this island. It is very suspenseful, and we do have a lot of POVs, which could be a little bit confusing at times, but it really does add interest to the story, and this definitely gave me Twin Peaks vibes, if you're familiar with that old TV show. Next up is cozy fantasy with romance, and some of these are leaning a little more like rom-com, heavier on the romance, and some are leaning more towards just cozy fantasy with a little light romance. But first up is one that is much more rom-com leaning, and that is The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. These stories are set in a quirky small town where witches live, and a certain set of witches run this sort of magical witchcraft shop, and about the shenanigans that they get up to surrounding different love interests. We have the first book where there is the cursing of an ex. The second book is dealing with kind of like a competitive work rival sort of story, and I definitely would recommend reading these in order because there are overlapping characters and details to understand. But this is just really like fun shenanigans, definitely funny stories. There is some spice in here. These are a little bit more spicy, especially the first book. But I really enjoy these stories and would definitely recommend for just a hilarious witchy rom-com. A book that I just recently finished that definitely has some rom-com vibes is Hex Appeal by Kate Johnson. I have been looking for a witchy book that has vibes of like the show Charmed from like the late 90s, early 2000s, if you're familiar with that. And this finally fit the bill for me. It definitely doesn't have like the exact same formula as far as like character dynamics, but it definitely has like the adventure and fighting evil, of course, the witchcraft, it has the humor, it has the romance. So it has all of the kind of themes and elements that I was looking for. I just really enjoyed this story. I feel like it had the right amount of like stakes, but also like cozy vibes at the same time. And it's featuring a witch who lives with some other witches in a house that is hidden in this small British town, and her landlord that is trying to find the home and collect rent. And it just has great shenanigans. It has some historical elements too, with like witch hunters, which I found really interesting. but I just really enjoyed this. But it does mention SA in here, so just be aware of that trigger warning. I'm currently reading the sequel, Hex in the City, which does have different characters and a different plot, but it is still fun and entertaining, so I will definitely update you on that when I finish. Next up is a story that leans a bit more cozy fantasy with a little bit of romance, and that is A Dark and Secret Magic by Wallace Kinney. This story is cozy, yet still has some fairly high stakes with evil magic, but this is centered around a cozy town with a witch who is part of a coven, but she is kind of like the healer who lives on the outskirts of town. She works with herbs and things like that, and it just has a really cozy vibe to it. It has all the like fall festival vibes, it has really like small town comfort, and it does have a little bit of romance that kind of has like this Hades Persephone sort of vibe to it, but I really enjoy this. It is perfect for fall. Next up is a trilogy that I've only read 2 of the books out of, and that is the Dangerous Damsels series by India Holton. These books are absolutely like full throttle fun time. They are kind of outlandish, but very like playful, absurd, a lot of shenanigans, but they are just so much fun. And it's like cozy fantasy with some romance, but we have witches, we have pirates, we have spies, we have, instead of like pirate ships or like flying brooms, we have flying houses. So it is a bit outlandish, but a lot of fun. And there is some spice in here, but it just has a lot of humor and adventure, and they're such a fun time. I enjoyed the first book, The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, more than the second book, The League of Gentlewomen Witches. I haven't, again, read the third book, The Secret Service of Tea and Treason, but these are all just really fun and would definitely recommend if you want something that's a little bit more like silly and light. The Practical Magic books are definitely what the Practical Magic movie is based on, but I wasn't personally a fan of the Practical Magic book, but this next book definitely has more of the vibes of the movie, and that is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. This is like a cozy kind of magic realism story. The magic is a little bit light, but it's about a family of women who are witches and how they kind of come back to their small town and are dealing with like the past and family things, but also trying to navigate the future. Their magic is tied to their garden and to food and to like people's emotions. People come to them to solve problems. But this just kind of has like this soft, romantic sort of feel to it, and it definitely has great small town vibes, but there's just this really beautiful story about like healing and growing and finding where you belong. There's some great side characters in here as well, but there is mention of SA, so just be aware of that trigger. My last cozy fantasy with romance is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This also has a sequel that recently came out, which I have not read yet, but I really enjoyed this first book. This is a really heartwarming, found family kind of story where a lonely witch is asked to teach 3 young witches about their witchcraft. This has really like cozy kind of cottagecore vibes. There's a kind of light romance, a grumpy sunshine sort of romance. There is an abundance of like tea and just cozy like British witchy vibes. It is definitely a fun time and would definitely recommend for very like cozy witchy vibes, but also with a lot of humor as well. The next category that you can find witches in books is graphic novels. I love a witchy graphic novel. They tend to be cozy and very heartwarming, and my first recommendation is Garlic and the Witch by Bree Poulsen. So this is actually a second book of a duology. The first book, Garlic and the Vampire, I would recommend reading first, but you could read Garlic and the Witch as a standalone, but just know it might give away some things for the first book. But they are just so cozy and so heartwarming. They are about sentient vegetables, specifically Garlic, who is a little girl vegetable, and the adventures that she goes on. Garlic, who is trying to navigate her magical abilities, and it's all kind of tied up in this story that just has a lot of like charm and kindness between the characters. It's definitely a story of courage. It's definitely about like big life changes. I feel like it would be good for children who are like, you know, 5 and up, or even like preteens. And even though I think those ages could enjoy it, I feel like all ages can enjoy. I enjoyed it as a 34-year-old woman. So I think that anyone who likes a cozy story can enjoy this witchy book. And it definitely has beautiful illustrations. It has very like fall colors to it. It's just really beautiful to see. I definitely would recommend this for like a cozy, heartwarming story that definitely has a message that's really beautiful behind it. Next up is Witchlight by Jessie Zabarki. And this is a really tender and magical story that centers around love and friendship, but also grief and self-discovery. And this is all done through just a really like dreamy and entertaining kind of art style, but it's definitely a story about healing through witchcraft and connection with others. My last graphic novel is Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. This is a queer and witchy kind of cozy story that centers around a witch who helps run a witch shop, and there is a werewolf love interest, and it just has a lot of food and family and cozy vibes. I definitely would recommend for something that just has like a really great like queer romance. A category that I don't read too much of because I haven't really found a lot that I like, but the two books I'm going to talk about today I really enjoy, but that category is cozy mystery. My two recommendations are by the author Aurora Lee Wallace, and these are both from the same series. I have heard that possibly this series isn't going to continue, which is really sad because I really enjoy these books, but hopefully we will get some more. The first book is In the Company of Witches, and this is about a witch who lives with her aunts and uncle at this inn that they run in this New England small town, and this witch happens to be able to speak with ghosts and the dead. And she's having a little bit of trouble with her magic, but we have kind of a murder mystery that she's trying to help solve. This has great witchy magic. It definitely has some humor in it, and of course, a really great mystery. And this does have like kind of silly, cheesy vibes sometimes, but it definitely is more enjoyable. I feel like other cozy mysteries were just like too cheesy and just not quite as grounded and believable, even though this is dealing with witchcraft. But I definitely enjoy this more than any other cozy mysteries that I have read. Just know that this does touch on grief and losing a loved one, even separate from the murder story itself. So just be aware of that. But I really enjoyed the first book, and I really enjoyed the second book as well, When the Crows Away. This sequel has the same kind of characters, but it does have a different mystery and a little bit different dynamic from the first one. I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as the first one, but it was still a really good time. It has all the witchy magic and same shenanigans, and we have talking ghosts. We have like animal familiars that are kind of helping with the mystery as well. So it was just a really fun time. YA and middle grade witchy books. These definitely are going to be ones that tug on your heartstrings, but also comfort you at the same time. And I think it's great because they can appeal to all ages without any like huge triggers or anything. First up is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. And if you're familiar with this author's work, you definitely know it is quirky and a little bit weird, but they definitely are fun books. And this is about a 14-year-old witch whose magic only works on baking. So when her city is attacked and there is political intrigue, she is having to use her magical baking skills in order to help save the day. So this definitely has some hilarious and inventive quirky elements to it in the Kingfisher style, but it is just a really great like YA magical story, and it really does grow to an epic sort of scale with battles and everything. So if you want something that is witchy and cozy but still has some stakes in a YA format, this is a really good one. My next suggestion is a middle grade book, and it actually won the Newbery Award, and for very good reason. It is a beautiful book, and that is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a very lyrical and fairy tale-like story about a baby who accidentally is given magic by a witch, and about the witch and sort of magical creatures that help raise her. But this story has a surprising amount of depth and a little bit of a dark tone to it, but it's middle grade, so it's still like good for a lot of ages. But It definitely has some interesting political intrigue, a really interesting kind of like religious system. It's all very much woven together. It's kind of a little bit dark and mysterious, but it just creates this really interesting and beautiful story. My last category is romantasy, and this is definitely not cozy. This is full on like high stakes adult romantasy, but we have some really great witchy vibes in this book, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is actually a duology, and the second book, Rebel Witch, I actually kind of soft DNF'd. I think it's one that I need to pick up later on. It just wasn't the right time for me to read it, but I really enjoyed the first book. So this is a darker romantasy where witches are hunted, but they are trying to fight against the tyranny that is trying to oppress them. And one specific witch who basically hunts the witch hunters. And there's a really interesting romance in here that's very much an enemies to lovers, a true enemies to lovers. They're on total opposite sides of the conflict, but this just has really great high stakes and witchy magic. There's some blood magic in here, so just be aware of that. But it just really was like a full throttle fun time. So if you like the idea of like political intrigue and romance, all very much woven in with witchcraft, I would definitely recommend this for you. All right, guys, that is my witchy book list for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed these books. I am definitely getting all the spooky and witchy vibes this fall season. But let me know in the comments your favorite witchy book, and definitely let me know if you have read any of these and whether you liked them or whether you disliked them. I love chatting about it with you in the comments. But let me know with a witch emoji in the comments that you made it to the end of the video. I really appreciate you sticking through and watching it and hanging out with me. I always enjoy making these videos for you guys. But that is going to be it for me today, so I will see you very soon. Bye!